Salted on television. Firstly, headlines. U.S. President receives a briefing from top U.S. military leaders on new plans for military action against Iran. And Israeli raids continue on towns and villages in southern Lebanon, and Washington announces direct negotiations between Israel and Lebanon in 2 weeks. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. U.S. President Donald Trump received a briefing from top U.S. military leaders on new plans for military action against Iran. U.S. media outlets reported that these plans could aim to break the deadlock in nuclear negotiations or might involve a military strike against key infrastructure inside Iran. Earlier, President Trump proposed a new plan to form a maritime coalition to secure navigation in the region. The U.S. State Department stated that this coalition would take measures to ensure safe passage, including providing half-time or real-time information, security guidance, and coordination. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that direct negotiations between Israel and Lebanon would take place in 2 weeks, and the U.S. Embassy in Beirut confirmed that Washington was prepared to stand by Lebanon and prevent Israeli escalation against it. This comes as the Lebanese army announced the death of a Lebanese soldier and several members of his family in an Israeli airstrike that targeted their home in town of Ruman in Nabatea, southern Lebanon. Lebanese media also reported more than 80 Israeli airstrikes on dozens of Lebanese towns, the most intense of which were concentrated in the Nabatea district, resulting in approximately 30 deaths, dozens of injuries, and the destruction of homes and infrastructure. Meanwhile, the Israeli army reported the death of an Israeli soldier in southern Lebanon in an attack carried out by Hezbollah using an explosive-laden drone. The Israeli army also stated that the projectile fired from Lebanon landed in an open area in northern Israel. Three Palestinians were wounded by Israeli occupation forces north of occupied Jerusalem in Khalil. Occupation forces raided a number of Palestinian homes in several towns, conducting searches, vandalism, and arrests. Armed settlers also attacked Palestinian homes in the city. The cities, towns, and refugee camps of the West Bank and Jerusalem witnessed daily raids and incursions involving the use of live ammunition, rubber-coated bullets, and tear gas against Palestinians. Moscow confirmed that its forces had captured the village of Bukalyani in the Kharkiv region of northeastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian authorities reported that the port of Odessa in southern Ukraine was damaged by the Russian airstrikes. They indicated that the Russian drone attack last night damaged the port's infrastructure, injuring at least 2 people, damaging 2 residential buildings, and causing several fires. The U.S. Security Council has approved a 1-year extension of the peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. While reducing its size, the resolution was adopted with the support of 13 members and will limit the maximum members of peacekeepers to 12,500 troops, down from 17,000, in addition to approximately 2,100 police officers. The mission will continue its work of protecting civilians, preventing an escalation of violence in South Sudan, and supporting the implementation of the peace agreement. Now for the local news. The Ministry of Health celebrated Nizwa Hospital's achievement of being designated as a baby-friendly hospital after passing the final evaluation of the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative. This accomplishment comes after the hospital fulfilled all international requirements and standards, which included developing maternal and child health services and enhancing the efficiency of its healthcare staff. This achievement places Nizwa Hospital within a healthcare system that adopts precise standards in early childhood care based on implementing a set of approved standardized steps in the maternity and neonatal departments to support breastfeeding, along with preparing specialized facilities and training medical staff to provide comprehensive health care. Muscat Stock Exchange recorded a positive performance during the current period, marking an increase of more than 42%. More details coming up.
Muscat Stock Exchange continues to record positive performance during the current period. At the close of trading in April, the index stood at 8,370 points, marking an increase of more than 42%.
What we see, this uptrend became because of the excellent result of more of the sectors and most of the companies. Oil have been supported a lot of companies which was initially came as a public company and supported heavily by oil price up and benefited from that. We also see oil service company benefited from the high demand of aviation gas.
Total trading for the week exceeded 370 million Oman Riyals, up by more than 25% compared to the previous week, bringing the total trading value during the first 4 months of this year to 4.97 billion Oman Riyals. The market's capitalization also rose to nearly 38.43 billion Omani Riyals. The number of executed transactions this week increased by more than 8%, surpassing 27,000 deals, with over 1.138 billion shares traded, an increase of 40% compared to the previous week. Sector indices on the Muscat Stock Exchange also recorded broad gains, led by the Financial Sector Index, which reached 13,238 points. The Industrial Sector Index stood at 10,191 points, while the Services Sector Index reached 3,268 points.
Oman Vision 2040 seeks to reduce reliance on oil and build a productive and sustainable economy that depends on competitiveness, justice, and flexibility. More details coming up.
With an aim of diversifying local income sources and developing the economy and the society structure, Oman Vision 2040 seeks to reduce reliance on oil and build a productive and sustainable economy that rests on competitiveness and justice and also extends to future generations. From this perspective, the importance of establishing a fair business environment that enables all institutions to continue, grow, and compete freely becomes evident. Legislation plays a vital role in enacting effective laws that strengthen market freedom and preserve fair competition through frameworks based on independent oversight and flexible interaction with digital transformation in support of the pillars that form the national strategy. This legal system contributes to improving Oman's position within international rankings and foreign investment attraction indicators, in line with the country's ambition to build a modern and sustainable knowledge-based economy. The Competition Protection and Monopoly Prevention Law is a central legislative tool to ensure transparency and equal opportunities in the market, while the Public Tenders Law constitutes an integrated system for managing tenders and procurement, while intellectual property enjoys legal protection aimed primarily at boosting innovation and economic growth. On the other hand, small and medium-sized enterprises play a fundamental role in driving growth under a set of policies and initiatives adopted by the Sultanate of Oman. The capacity of these enterprises to expand, contribute added value, and connect to local supply chains has been strengthened over the years. Today's challenge is no longer only to find the necessary regulatory frameworks, but to make them living tools that move the market and open horizons for a generation of entrepreneurs capable of leading Oman's economy towards the future. The practical activation of these legislations also require broad partnership between the public and private sectors to achieve comprehensive and sustainable development.
And finally, April on Thursday reported results that beat Wall Street estimates, with customers showing eagerness to buy a new MacBook, a model driven by incoming CEO John Thomas, while supply constraints hindered iPhone sales. Apple said sales and profits were $111.18 billion and 2.01 per share for the fiscal second quarter ended March 28th, above analyst expectations of $109.66 billion and 1.95 per share, according to LSEG. Apple CEO Tim Cook said iPhone sales were held back in the quarter by supply constraints for the advanced processor chips that form the brains of the device. The iPhone 17 family's chips were made on a variant of the same Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing chip manufacturer technology as many leading AI chips. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The U.S. President receives a briefing from top U.S. military leaders on new plans for military action against Iran. And Israeli raids continue on towns and villages in southern Lebanon, and Washington announces direct negotiations between Israel and Lebanon in 2 weeks. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all the crew here and myself, Suhail Kindi, have a good weekend. Good night.